Hello there, and welcome to a new segment I created called Tasty Conversations with Tasty Cake. I am your host, the Reverend Amagon. Same old, same old. But this time, instead of Tasty Talk with Tasty Cake on my personal channel, this is Tasty Conversations with Tasty Cake on Spill the Geek Tea. I know, strange, different, weird, same thing. I know. Don't bug me about it. I'm trying to figure this out. So, my first guest is a friend of mine, met online, and big collector. He's been a co-host on Spill the Geek Tea. He's my moderator on my other show. So my moderator, my co-host, my friend, my brother, Kenzo's Creations.
Hello. And if you're here, Sam Gloves, I have gloves on.
Whatever
What's up,
happened to
everybody?
Sam
What's up? We're here for Sam Gloves. I was told there was going to be some free cake here.
Hey,
And
could
cake and tea.
Could you put on the gloves and could you put on another pair of gloves? And
Put
miss you,
gloves
Sam
on top
gloves.
of your gloves.
Skeletor's got gloves per se. It's got big old gloves on there.
Yeah, it's got them big old gloves. That's not too bad. Well, now.
Well, so this new concept, new little playlist on one-on-one, which was, I have to give credit where credit is due, because the idea was if could not get more than, I want to do one-on-one conversations, interviews, stuff like that. It's on a playlist. It expands the channel, and it was also the same thought as someone else. So I know she's watching because I'm that special.
You
Can't get
are,
rid of
you
me yet.
are. Come on now.
Oh.
Dude,
But anyway,
so how are we doing today? Happy Monday, or
Happy
whatever
Monday, sir.
time it is, or whatever day you're watching this.
yes, for us it's Monday. People may watch this on Tuesday, Wednesday, but it doesn't matter. It's a playlist. Check it out anytime you can.
That's right.
Kenny and I have been talking for about 2 hours, just so much gold, all these unique things. Not hitting the button, but that's me, procrastinator. But for this episode, we bring in Kenny because he does a lot of things. And you can catch, of course, let me pull up his banner because I never deleted it. YouTube.com/at Kenzo's _creations, where
That's me.
Kenny has his Wednesday shows. He has his crazy Friday shows and so forth, which he will mention towards the end because, at the send off. So he does his own thing, but, this is about nitpicking. This is about, for part one, when you were waiting for me to get on studio, you were working on something. You got your fancy schmancy old man magnifiers with a fancy light on there, painting away.
Hold on, let me get into character. Okay, everybody. This is what happens when you get old. Anyway.
Oh, my back.
Hey, you know what? Even if your vision's not that bad, these are gold. If you do customs, if you do painting, if you do anything like that, I will say my first tip to you, it is, if I go down here, you can see it's a rechargeable. There's the plug right there. You just charge the actual piece. You don't waste batteries. It has different levels of thickness of the glasses. They come on and off. So if you're working really hard on something and what'd you say? You roll them right up. Then you roll them back down and you work. I had a bunch of different stuff before. I've tried different things, but these, as ugly as they make you look, they work very, very well. So Amazon, I think $10, $12, something like that. So anyway, yes. All right, get my ugly face off of there. What are we doing?
Well, you were in the midst of painting. That's what we talked about over and over again. Say, well, what's going to be the first episode? Painting, because you're in your secret laboratory.
Yes. This is the messiest place on earth. If you can see a little bit here, the entire. Oh wait, Second messiest, second messiest place on earth, next to Tasty Cake's backdrop. But that's your thing, man. Like you said, it's a good, it's been there to where if we didn't see it, we'd almost be like, dude, what the heck happened to your backdrop? So
I'm cleaning. It goes back a little further by 1 inch because that's all. Anyway,
that's all it takes for you not to knock down the Krusty Krab. Just 1 inch, right? Thought you were going to demolish it. No, we just move it.
Yeah.
So I just finished my armor, and I didn't realize how perfect it goes on Anti-Eternia He-Man.
Wow.
These are both Alien Cito parts that I printed. This one actually has the skull on the sword, and then like veins or blood kind of stuff on there. And then I printed this in red and painted it with some kind of metallic black and then some flat black. And I think this is probably my coolest Anti-Eternia piece. Even though I know he wears a He-Man armor, it still looks cool with the bad guy armor. Anyway, so.
Well, that just means you had to make the one with the...
Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to. But the Skeletor armor... See, and this is kind of one of those things when you're thinking about customizing and you're like, well, what can I do to add color? As you always want to do an accent color. You don't want to just do one color, right? You want to, just like even some of these, as much as it's basic, Mattel has 2 colors on the armor to make it, pop a little bit. You got the green, you got the little pink. Mm-hmm. So what I always look at, especially like that Skeletor armor, is what kind of lines am I going to get? What am I going to be able to do with that one? If you can see here, I've got the silver around the bat. I have the black inside the bat. And then I have the metallic black, which is almost like a gray on the skull. And then, and then even like underneath the arms here, I did that black or with the metallic black here on the corner. But something like the He-Man armor, there's not a lot of lines. There is, you can maybe outline that. And, it would be okay. But, maybe the neckline I could do a little bit. But for this one, the main lines, it's going to be, there's nothing on the back to really paint to make it look, because if you do, then it's almost too much. There's nothing that's going to say, okay, I could get you painting that. And that is why when you're doing customs on like Masters of the Universe, I'll give a shout out to my friend, my buddy's Customs. He does, Mattel gives us the outline to customize, like those little, the little circles there and some of these lines here. You can always add a wash or a paint to that to make it unique, to make it your own. And it doesn't, you don't need a 3D printer to do that. You can customize your own. And these are, like I said, these are all Alien Cito prints that I've been using lately with my blind boxes that I've been doing. But anything that Masters of the Universe has gives you, this one's not too bad as far as of course that didn't work. But little things like rivets or pockets or, you can color over those things and just make them stand out. And something so small like that can make all the difference. Even with this one, it could use a little more color, like the rivets on the sides, or you could do the bone a different color. Something small makes it your own, makes it unique. And that's technically it ends up being, you do anything different, obviously it's considered technically a custom, right? Whether it's a kit bash when it's kind of that lower level, or when you go into the crazy stuff, when you start, getting into paints and other lines and other product, and where you have to kind of mix it up a little bit. But anyway, so Tasty Cake, what have you, as far as your experience, because I know as much as he just doesn't practice enough, as much as you say you don't paint as much, because he doesn't practice enough. Because if he practiced, I bet he could. What just kidding. So what have you done as far as customs? Like, I know like you've purchased a lot of extra parts and things like that, but tell us your process as far as like, I know you're interviewing me, but I'll flip the script on you for a second.
Yeah.
Tell us about your thought process when you look at a figure. How many different things do you customize in your own head within the first minute?
Well, you're still a co-host, so it's what we do. It's what we do here.
Yeah.
And if I didn't think about women all the time,
Damn it.
my hands would be on. Anyway, so I talked about this before. I took the Keldor Skeletor. They came from Target. I just bought a bunch of these cuts, and maybe I could use them for later. And the Terror Claws, it was in the Motu mini comic back in the day, and it was reprinted. He had gold claws. It was kind of weird, so I didn't follow that color scheme. But when Mondo released the big Skeletor, just the one thing, the price was next. This was their interpretation of the Terror Claws based on the mini comic. So it worked perfectly using the Keldor because the bracers were there, and these claws came from the Masterverse Skelegod, which Kenny and I both found them extra ones at Ross at the time for dirt cheap. They just had one, so I actually have two. But the Skelegod, look on eBay, he had two sets of hands. One's with the fist, and then you could add the flames to it. That's perfect for a Skelegod. The claws, anything from Masterverse, is just a slightly bigger, and it works perfectly. So this is my one for the mini comic. But we're talking about, and I mentioned on my other show, Tasty Talk with Tasty Cake, personal show, I wanted something because pink is my favorite color, but a pink tube top for Skeletor and these claws that if you put the wrong hands in them, they don't work right. It's like the issue I had with the Spider-Man with the attachments of symbiote, and I still haven't gone looking for that extra piece. It's somewhere, maybe the roaches got it, I don't know. Problem is with this armor, it's all in one piece, and just so obscurely huge. Now Kenny was telling me he did it. He took his Terror Claws Skeletor, the new one that's coming out, that's available through Entertainment Earth. It's on pre-order till next month on Big Bad Toy Store. The Terror Claws Cobra Commander Skeletor, using that detachable armor, because anything Masterverse is going to work very nicely on Origins, is taking, by just taking this figure and just put that Masterverse, like he showed me, he took the Masterverse armor, put on here, and it's not giving him a halter top. It's a little bit more covering, which I prefer. And I'll use that armor itself with these claws. Maybe I'll put that head on, because this is a head from, I believe I got it from Bob Rosa Customs.
It looks like a classics, yeah.
So I took that one just because of the uniqueness of it. Gives kind of a Misfits kind of look. You're a misfit, you bumbling boob. And then I'll show off my concept, my kit bash of how I wanted Terror Claw Skeletor. Now with the pink halter top, but with the beautiful Terror Claws Masterverse armor, which he showed me. The claws from Masterverse Skelegod. Custom head. Not the stupid dragon thing. And once that comes in, I'm done. That's my ultimate Skeletor there, besides others I have sitting in the hallway. I had an animated head, which I think I got from him.
Oh yeah.
But of course, with this one,
that's a good one.
Be careful with this, people, because I had to use hot water to remove the head because accidentally the peg got stuck on there. It's too tight. It's the paint. The paint came off the black. The paint came off the orange. So now it just sits on top of the pencil, and I use it as a prop. So,
I mean, that is really close to like the disco type of look too. That as far as the colors go with that orange.
And I do have the disco one. I move my holocrons, Sith and Jedi holocrons. Because my paint schemes are very lackadaisical. I bought this one on eBay. the origin style because I never got the 2000X version.
That looks
Maybe I
good.
did. I don't remember. And based on the comic book, they did that. So it's origin style, the black and purple. Everything is so beautifully painted. I
Very
did
nice.
switch the power sword for a black one. I think I did. I'm sure I did. No, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that's the half one, so it's got to be, unless it's painted, because you figure the half ones are going to be the ones from.
Oh, and this was from him because he gave a silver sheen to it.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's just absolutely amazing. Just sits there. So there's my Disco Skeletor.
That looks great. Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite. Look at the feet, man. That's great.
Painted
like
like that with the stand.
Yeah, that looks great.
And the detail, classic.
Definitely looks. I mean, when you think about it, when we see that head on the pegs, when we first saw it, and we were like, "That's not Skeletor. What are we doing with his mouth open?" And all that? But all it takes is a little paint. I mean, that's proof right there that you can just throw a little paint on something and completely change the look of it. Because the original one has just all yellow, right? The one from when we get it off the pegs.
Yep.
But getting that extra detail, I mean, forget about it, man. That's awesome.
So I just stick them back here because no real place for them. But then again, I was planning on changing everything once in a while. But when I did my lazy version, oh God,
boo! Here's that halter top that he was talking about.
Yes.
So his is the non-halter top. So it is shorter for Masterverse, but when you put it on at Origins, it's beautiful. So
yes, it fits more nicely. Let's a little bit of belly button, not the whole thing there, as it should be, covering up more. And I said this is just the Keldor one, so when I added purple, and it washed off, so it's still uniqueness because it shows the original green.
Mm-hmm.
And so
and shout out to Hordak MX for the custom head of the New Adventures Skeletor head, which I love, with the eyeballs, which freaks Tase T out.
Kenny loves that show. I don't have Peacock, so I can't watch it. But
I think you could watch it for free. I think it's you don't have to pay for it to watch some of the stuff they have. So I think you could probably just download the app and you can get it for free.
My new smart TV from Roku.
Ooh, yeah, dude, it'll be on the list of downloads for sure.
Once I finish watching right here, right now, oh my God.
Woo! I've been working, man. I've been putting some work in with these. So this was, of course, a 3D print, another Aliencito. I did the colors. And the only thing is down here, I need to change maybe the bulb on this thing because it's like a yellow. So a lot of the colors doesn't really help them out. But you've got a gold frame with the gold logo and the red background, and then red with the gold rivets. And he's got the space for the sword. But I just mixing stuff up, trying stuff different. I've got a bunch of, like the glow in the dark, and this is a blue glow in the dark for Duplico. If I wanted to do that, it glows pretty nicely blue. Here's kind of the similar one where I printed it in red, so I can kind of do a little different with maybe like a gray or silver, maybe some gold as well. But I don't know, like when it comes to customizing and just painting over the current stuff, you always want to make sure, like, first you kind of want to wash it. You want to put it in, you want to get a nice soapy wash to it. Sometimes even if like you get like a Brillo pad or one of those 3M, and just get that gloss off of it, because a lot of people, that's one of the biggest mistakes you make, is that if you don't take that coating off, no matter what you paint, any movement is going to chip. It's two different mistakes that I think a lot of people make when they're first starting out doing customs. One is the cleaning part of it. You want to make sure, especially in the joints. But the second thing is the thickness of your paint. You would think, okay, well, I'm going to go get some apple barrel from Walmart, which you can. Absolutely. I don't have any problem with that. When you start getting more into it and in depth, and you want to kind of put a little bit more investment into the hobby, then you want to try to get like a, I really do like Vallejo.
Mhm.
Yes. Oh, but it's so much smaller than something like this. Yes, it is. But the paint spreads so well. You get so much more out of a paint like this than you do for the other stuff. But at the same time, even when you do get the cheaper stuff, which I usually get a lot of the cheaper stuff and use it for mixes. I've always been really good at picking colors out to know exactly what's going to mix with something to make a different color. Mixing your own paint, if you do it for so long and just, you get a knack for it, it's invaluable, because how much money you can save or time. Oh, shoot, I got to go buy this paint somewhere. Oh, and it's not exact, so I don't know what to do. But once you start getting it to where, oh, this is a little bit of a tint off, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow on here and it's going to be perfect. Or I'll put a little gray or a little brown or whatever, but thin it out. Whether you use water or whether you use something like airbrush thinner, I use a lot of it, you can see. Not only because I use an airbrush, if I have to, I usually thin the paint either way when I get on the airbrush. But sorry, I'll wait till that stops. Okay. But it really helps to thin your paint and layer it, instead of, because then if you get into that point where you're putting big gobs of paint on there, sure, yeah, it covers it. But if something goes, that whole big thick chunk is going to dry together and it's going to peel together. But you layer thin, and it tends to hold better. So I've always been a real fan of trying new things. I stumbled upon something while painting a face, whereas I used to use a floor shine. I used to get Pledge Revive, and it was $8-9 at Walmart, but then they stopped carrying it, and in order to get it, it's like super expensive now. So I tried different things like Mop and Glow, different things that, I mean, it's made to give you a shine on a surface that people walk on. So if you can find something that's going to deal with that, then it's going to be very nice on a custom figure, right? So, but the one thing I did stumble upon, and I do want to share with people, because I'm never going to be one, I'm an open book. If someone needs some advice or help with customs, I am all over it. I'm never going to, be one to hold back information. But I found, and obviously you can buy half of the size, but the 3D print resin that I use, they have all kinds of different types. You have clear, you have glow in the dark, you have red glow in the dark, which actually comes out pink. But the clear resin that I use, I keep I put a little bit in this guy. And when I finish a face or something that I want to either look wet or super, super glossy, it's my go-to. So, for example, this guy here, standard, boom, there's your gloss. I paint that clear resin over. So I just get a small brush and I kind of dedicate it to my resin. I put that over the paint, and then, hold on, I know here it is. And then I hit it with this, my UV light, my little UV pen that I got on Amazon for cheap. And that resin will solidify over the paint, but because it's a new piece of resin on top, it gets that nice, clear, wet type of look. I actually spoke to one of my friends, Random Diorama, that has a show on Friday nights on YouTube. He mentioned that he uses that same style for water if he wants, because he does a lot of dioramas, of course. So he uses that resin over his paint to make it look like a wet river, or if something's dropping down and it's wet, that's what he uses. But I also, the biggest thing, and I think the most effective thing that I've used this for, is eyeballs. If you put it over your paint and your work, and I love painting eyes. I'm very weird like that. People are like, look at me funny when I say I enjoy doing eyeballs more than anything. People are like, dude, that's like the worst. Why do you enjoy that? I'm crazy. But putting that resin over the eyes gives you this perfectly glossy eye. And it makes it look so unique and so realistic. I don't have any down here, but it, you know what? Next show I'll make sure and have some to show off. But anyway, that's my little tips that will go a long way. And if you ever have any questions, I'm on all social medias. Reach out. I don't care even if something small, something you're like, ooh, I don't really know. Even if you don't know where to start, just there's a lot of it's kind of funny because this is coming a day after I was watching a show on Hella Dope Toys. They were talking to a fellow customizer, and it's kind of a similar thought process. And Tasty Cake and I have had this show idea for how many weeks, and it just so happens that we finally got to do it right after I watched him. And the one thing that I kind of conclude after watching him as well is that there's so many talented people in the collecting community that do customs, and we're all here to help. And that's the biggest thing about it is no matter what, you don't have any people sitting back going, whoa, that's my secret. I'm not going to tell you about it. Bullshit. We're going to tell you. This is our community. If we can help you make your collection unique and better for you to enjoy it more, all about it. So yeah, definitely. So that's my little 2 cents.
Exactly. We have ideas. It's about spreading. I don't know if I can claim this, but when the Transformers Combiner Wars came out, and Hasbro decided, well, we're going to create these obscure pieces for the teams. It's like, why? They want to make something different. It's like, but we want the original pieces, which sadly came in later on, like through Amazon. And I never completed many of the teams. Like, I didn't bother. But they created, it was Cyclonus that turns into Galvatronus. I said, well, just use these pieces here, that obscure ones we got. I took the picture, I showed it, and then I guess I was the first one to actually put the picture out because everyone else put it out afterwards. And yeah, I thought too. We're on the same wavelength here. We created something that's just a little kit bash. Mine go even further above, well, I wanted to do this, I want to do that. And honestly, I don't think it's going to happen. Anyone could go through and try to find those old Transformers Combiner Wars. I had the idea of a Headmaster Megatron with the limbs. You had to paint the other limbs, but put Ratchet on as the arm, and it covered with the cloak that was used in the Bayverse Transformers movies, because his face was torn off, but also covered part of his arm. So that's the whole idea. In the comic, Ratchet and Megatron were formed together due to an accident. So that's an idea. Soundwave being a combiner, you just take these parts, say what would be Rumble, Frenzy, Laserbeak, Ravage, because there was a super duper exclusive one. You take the one repaint of Slingshot, it was painted red, and so you combine to make Betatron. But if you had the money to spend, well, when you got the one figure, which was at one of the re-releases, an exclusive Ratchet, which you had to get through Japan, an exclusive Shatterglass Starscream, which, and the Ratchet First Aid, which you made at the convention, which I have the stickers through a friend of mine who got it, and I have a First Aid, and I'm going to, for painting, because all the details. That's Medics. And they said, this is the most unique and expensive combiner you're going to make. And I added the add-on parts they got from Big Bad Toy Store because it gave them more of a big, bulkier look with a helmet. And that's why I have it sitting in the room, with the exception of it's still First Aid, not Medics. So you can make this one. It's going to be worth buku bucks. And again, find these pieces now are just absolutely crazy.
Right.
But we have all these ideas. And when the Funkos came out, which Kenny did long before I did, I said, well, it's me. This is a mirror image, like most of my stuff. This one is based on my character from a ill-fated cable access TV show called Solid Ground, which you can watch on YouTube. It's the Cuddly Critter Caper they put into a movie. This was Larry. I took the Funko Pop.
So that's on YouTube with you in it?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you gotta send me that link. I want to watch it.
I'm on all the episodes except for one of them, which was my main episode.
Oh, come on, man. I'll binge watch that stuff. Come on.
It's
Give
just
up the goods, man.
Aliens episode 4, episode 5, 6, and 7 are combined. So I was at the end of 5. It's all 7. Episode 10 was not even shown. Episode 12, I'm the extended one on YouTube. Episode 13, another character which doesn't really count, and episode 14. So I did my parts.
That's cool, man. That's really cool.
But this, I just took it from the Build Up Funko thing. It's the graduation gown.
Mm-hmm.
He wore purple. It's black, so I painted purple. And I used the paints like Kenny said. It was from Apple Barrel through Walmart because these are just so cheap. I still got to thin it out, more gray, more purple. The mask, which represents my order of 9. The cookies, which came from episode 12, the Christmas party. So I came here for my sister's Christmas cookies. And I just had to paint a little silver line and a little tassels to be the belt. And that's all I need to do. And it's been sitting on my desk for months because there's the paint, there's the paintbrush, there's Larry. It just sits there. And one little thing, once he's done, do a video, I'll stick it back in a box with the other 24 Funkos because they all represent me in various characters or
that's cool.
lifestyles.
It's kind of like an homage. It's kind of like hey, this is what I did and this is what I have, sitting there. If you're not, it's not like you're going to be putting a small mini TV with your shows on a loop, but you're going to be like, hey, this is what I've got. This is what I did.
It's a mirror of what I used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Well, and I was thinking that's one other thing I would want to bring up. If you get to a point where there's something small and you're kind of looking at it and you're like, dude, I'm a little bit nervous about it. I don't know what to do. You can always, now it doesn't always have to be like chrome, but I mean, you can always get an acrylic pen.
Mm-hmm.
These are also available at your hobby stores or at Amazon or whatever. This is something that like I started out using it on the bat. So it's the chrome, and I used that to go around the bat. And it was because there's a line sticking off, it's raised off the armor. So why not? I mean, if it's going to help to where if like the brush isn't going to be like a pinstripe type brush, some of the bristles might fall down and touch the bottom, but this you just draw on there and it's acrylic paint. So like this one here, this is the smaller one. And then I have a larger one as well that like if I'm doing something, it comes in, a pack like that where you have a big and a small. But, there's always these options. And like Tase T was talking about, the Funko that you had, if there are something small, like you need to have a little accent piece and you're like, ooh, I don't want to have to go through it. And then the brush and if the brush it's too thick or if it's too big and you don't know what, like sometimes I'll just get my little snips and cut the brush if I can't find it because of my mess. I'll make like a little pinstriping type brush, but those acrylic pens do well. And so I mean, if you're thinking about making little changes with your figures, I mean, it's a step to kind of help make things easier. And just like an airbrush. Oh my gosh, I've been doing customs with the sports figures like behind me there for 10 years or so before I started doing customs for toys. And I never had an airbrush during the sports ones. And I really am kicking myself for not doing that earlier because it just could have been, it's such a difference and such an upgrade in the type of the texture, the layers, there's no paintbrush lines even. I mean, if you texture or if you thin out your paint correctly, then those lines aren't going to be there. But you never have to worry about that with an airbrush because if you do a base coat with the airbrush, it's a beautiful, smooth coverage. So, but that's a different step in the process later. So like I said, I almost hate that I saw that show last night because I am kind of regurgitating a lot of the stuff that he said, but it's kind of stuff that we all talk about as customizers. And that's what we all, I mean, even to the point where if there's a larger piece, like something like that, I didn't worry about taking out the airbrush. I have a bunch of spray cans upstairs, and I have different colors that I have in there. And, sometimes it just takes this, little spray can. And I have a box that is like a filter box over here, but I'm in Colorado where we have 300 days of sun, even if it's colder outside. You don't want to spray paint out in the cold like that, because it does screw up the way the texture is. But as long as it's like a mild day like this, I'll just go outside and spray all that stuff. But yeah, there's so many different. I mean, this could be a 10-hour show with tips and tricks of what to do. But like I said, it's just at your pace, just do it at your pace, and go to Goodwill and buy some toys and paint those first. If you don't want to ruin your figure, if you're like, I don't want to start on something that I really want to do. Yeah. Go to the dollar store and pick up those. What brand is that Tasty Cake that they have over there? Those smaller ones?
I know they have the Crayola washable paints. So
no, I'm
for
talking
those
about
that want
figures.
to,
The dollar store figures.
oh
They come in. They're like a 3 3/4.
yeah, that it's like a space range.
Yeah,
I know I've seen those, and that's unique to Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. Yeah, so you could buy those and start painting over them. And you can, like I said, my big thing, I'd say just go to Goodwill. Go to Goodwill, hit the toy section, or go to New Horizon or whatever you have. What other stores are there like that? You got Goodwill,
Salvation Army.
Salvation Army. Thank you. New Horizon is the one we have in Colorado. It's more of like a religious one.
Besides going to, if we go to Ross, you've got
yeah.
DDs. I don't have any DDs close by.
Yeah, dude. I mean, even if you get
so getting stuff, Ollie's, they'll always have discount things here and there. Try anything. You see something, you like it, play with it.
Ross has those ECW figures. Like,
wow.
That's perfect. Is it ECW? Yeah. And they're what, $3.99, and they're 6-inch figures. So if you want to get into painting something the size of what we're used to using, like this one, I'm looking at. I want to do a Black Star custom. I did the prints from Boojaboo or Mega Custom X, and I did these two in the glow in the dark, but also Black Star's not the same color as He-Man. And so I did grab the Jitsu. It might be a little more of a red. It might be a little darker than I want for Black Star. But if you notice what I did with Jitsu, I had to pull off the big chopping hand, right? And then I used the little pauldron from one of the He-Man figures I had. And I had to kind of put it in there and glue it. And I'd have to do a little bit more modifications, but so far so good. And once I paint the colors the same color, everything will work out fine. But I'm still not sure I'm going to use this one. I may get just a He-Man and do a light coat of a darker tan over with my airbrush. But the 3D print came out great. The little necklace armor, whatever, I did a little gold to it, but otherwise it's glow in the dark. And then the Star Sword's going to be glow in the dark, so I won't worry about painting that. But then I just have to put the little cover over, like the little loincloth cover that Boojaboo also made. So, because I'm a part of Boojaboo's Patreon, so that's always nice to get, first access to all his available 3D print files. But it doesn't always have to be 3D print. Like I said, I'm a little heavy into 3D printing because I've got, 5 of them. So I might as well use them, right? But yeah, and even little like this one, this is not an expensive paint, but it's an airbrush paint. So it's very thin and the texture is nice and it gets good coverage. And so I buy these not only because I have the airbrushes, but because the coverage is really good and it comes in a larger box, but it gives you all the colors you need. And it still has that nice thin coverage, not thick, thin coverage. So yeah, there you go.
It's all about experimenting. Like I talked about. Gotta move it. Gotta move it. There we go.
No avalanche. No avalanche.
No avalanche. This was my concept of C-3PO. Now, I did get episode 7. It had the more burgundy arm instead of the bright red one, which was matched in the comic book. And I said, okay, well, he didn't have a silver leg. So is thickness to it, because I'm just kind of like bloop, bloop, bloop. But being that he's a droid, he's going to have replacement parts and things going to build up. So it's fitting for him by getting a little grittiness to him. So, and then my brain, episode 5 and 6, he had a gold foot, not a silver foot. So I just kind of try to wipe it off. It's not the best. So it's a gold foot, but it's dirty. It's all gritty and grimy. And then in Ahsoka, they gave him brown hands. So
nice.
My concept is this is what 3PO would be. From episode 3, it was all nice and gold, but then Ahsoka came along. They switched his hands out. And then episode 4, he had the silver leg and silver foot. Episode 5 and 6, they gave him a gold foot. Episode 7, they gave him a red arm. So the poor dude's been going through a lot. The scar, the dirt, everything else. So this is what I consider the ultimate C-3PO.
That is cool. And the beauty of it when you use acrylic paints is that when you do that, you if you get it quick enough, all you got to do is have a wet rag and you get that off. If you want to use like a Brillo, or if you want to use like a magic eraser, or or just get some acetone and get that thing right off. It'll come, because acrylic is very easy to come off once it takes a little, but enamels, will stay away from enamels. That's a bad thing. It's just it's harder to clean. I don't know. It's not, especially for customizing toys. It doesn't dry right. It's very. I made the mistake once of using I grabbed an enamel spray for a sealant, and then I had an acrylic spray for a sealant and the enamel for the color on something. So mistakenly, I found out exactly what happens when a chemical reaction of an enamel paint covered by an acrylic spray, it comes through it. It literally eats through it, and the texture almost looks like, what would I think? Like almost like a leather. So like if you're going to go for something where you want to do like a special effects, then put some enamel down and cover it with an acrylic sealant, and it just looks weird, like, or almost like a wood grain, but not, it's weird, but I digress. Yeah. So
go out, find things. And of course, it was years later, I thought I needed another 3PO because I want to have an episode 2 C-3PO for the whole concept of, okay, in general, episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Ahsoka, because he just had the brown hands, and this would be the ultimate 3PO of he's been replacing parts all this time. Mm-hmm. But why didn't I think about it? I got a figure at an antique mall for $5. I kept thinking maybe Ollie's will still have it. No, they got Grandma Tarkin. They got all these other figures. Nothing's come to mind unless I knew about turning Peter Cushing into Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein, or Van Helsing, but to get those outfits. So if someone has the concept of doing that, and has the 6-inch bodies, make those horror figures with Peter Cushing, darken up his hair, but we'll blacken it. So they're all out there. It takes me time to think, coulda, shoulda, woulda. But then again, once I start digging through all the stuff, instead of saying, well, I wanted to have one to sell and one to open up, no, I'm just going to open up what I got, have that turn into an episode C-3PO, and just have my little lineup of that there. So we all have one, or we all see the progression and the ultimate one and the animated one. I paid for that one. It has chips on it, but nothing I can do about it. Because that could have been enamel. I don't, as far as I know. But things, find things at Ollie's, find things at Ross, find, something inexpensive. Just go for it and make an idea out of it.
Yeah.
That's what we're all doing here. It's,
And I can tell you from just the way that obviously everybody's different, but personally, if you put a book in front of me, I will have every excuse not to get through a couple pages, but it's not because I don't want to read anything. It's that me focusing with a book in front of me is like, oh my gosh, it's bad. It's really bad. So, but if I'm sitting here and my paints are in front of me and my parts are in front of me, I could paint for hours and I could focus on it. And it's just the way that my brain works. That's just how it works. But it's a very cathartic thing. It's something that I use a lot. Obviously, like I just lost my grandma not too long ago, a couple months ago. And I mean, it helps you get through things. Like if you just need to focus and just escape all the evil and ugliness that's out there, if you're sitting in my little corner of, you know what, it's a mess, but it's my mess and I know where things are, right? But if you need to just escape, and you just want to do something different than watch a movie or you can throw on some music and just let yourself kind of get into it, and your focus level changes and you're not thinking about anything except for getting that line right or getting that box filled or getting, you know what I'm saying? So try it. Even if you don't really have much of artistic in you, it little things like trying a dry brush or a wash or dyeing a figure or just those little paint things. If you want to add little rivets that makes it yours. It's unique. Nobody else has it. I mean, maybe they do, but nobody, your figure is different than all the other figures that you have, and you did it. And it's kind of a cool little accomplishment to say, you know what? This guy didn't look this cool before I put the stuff I, added to it. He still looked cool, but I would take this armor over this armor anytime, So it's different. Everybody has their own thing as far as meditation or just trying to find something to kind of help themselves. The world's chaotic and there's a lot of stresses going on, and there's a lot of just sometimes something little like sitting down and painting something can help you kind of just, okay, I'll be all right, yeah. So like I said, it's and I'm talking to you too, Taste Cake. It's not, it may not be like something that hits you right away and something where you're like, but if you kind of get into it a little bit and you say, you know what, because I know you've got some parts that you could paint somewhere in that, but it's just little something here and there to say, you know what, all I did, like just that little piece you did with that leg, like what a difference that made, right? It made it to where that's exactly what you wanted. And you did that for yourself, for your own display, and now you have something completely unique and freaking cool as what I saw, and it's in you. You've got it because you've done it, and you have all the ideas to do it. And it's just a matter of, hey, you know what? These guys, they don't take up much room. You get a little box with those things in it, and
well, I have 3 boxes of paints in the bathroom
so
closet.
you've already got the stuff.
I already have the stuff.
And this isn't just like one of those things where, Kenzo's coming on here trying to talk Tasty Cake into doing customs. But I'm telling you, man, I've noticed a lot of similarities in kind of where our minds go a lot of times. And I mean, obviously, I don't know what's going on in your head. You don't know what's going on in mine, but just by our conversations and things like that. And it's just been like, dude, it helps me a bunch. It really does help me a bunch. And sometimes it gets, if you get frustrated because you miss something, and if it's acrylic, yeah, get a rag and you get another one. But that you start to refocus, and then as you go, you get better and better. My first custom is trash. I can tell you, is awful. The first custom I did was Brandon Marshall. He was a football player. He played for the Chicago Bears, but he used to play for the Broncos. And I wanted to make a custom, turn him into a Bronco figure. The worst custom you would ever, it's so bad. But here I am, 5 14, 15 years later, and it's, everything's not bad. Not bad. Doesn't take that long to get good at it, just so you know. Doesn't take 15 years. I guarantee you could get good at it in about a month.
If it wasn't for all the women and all these things, yeah,
the world wouldn't be going around.
Yeah. But again, it all starts when, just as a little side note, because we've done this on Spill Tea and everything else. I was going a little sidetrack. If it wasn't for me doing on my Amazon Fire Facebook Live, which I don't do that anymore, Instagram Live is just very rare, and then ending up on the Legend of Trying TARDIS as one thing to say, oh, we need you on the show, so I had to get a camera, and then I get the microphone, they get all these things. I got things I'll never use. I spent money on. I was like, God. And just expanding. Then, and you and I became friends, and then I worked on the channels and created Spill the Geek Tea, because it's for all of us to just gather together, talk, share ideas, have fun. So it just comes about little by little, because they said people come in your life is either a lesson or for the long term. And Kenny is part of the long term. The lessons, he knows some of the lessons I've dealt with and I'm still trying to get over.
Yep.
But it's all about going through, because Kenny's gonna help me on another episode with let's set up the eBay. 'Cause I have the eBay account. I tried years ago trying selling things, but it's getting focused, getting things, getting boxes, and started thinning things out. So I would have the room to get through all this and make it spectacular before anything.
Yeah.
The psychic said I was going to live a long life, but how long is that? And what form? But yeah, we planned this, got it working. We spent 2 hours talking before this, an hour going through here, and it's mainly about painting. And next would be, everything's out there. About the customs, about eBay, we're tinkering on StreamYard. This is little things that we know just to bring up the conversations, because it's all fun.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Kenny, for being on here. And where's your thing? There it is.
Let me give you some balloons here. Let's go. Let's get some balloons in this picture. Yay.
As we said before, where else can we find you besides?
Yeah, I do. So I do Wednesday nights probably right after Tase T, because he does 4-hour live. Right about 7:00 Mountain Time, which is 9:00 on the East Coast, 6:00 on the West Coast. I do Kenzo Wednesday live, and usually about a 2-hour show. And then on Friday nights at 11:30 p.m. my time, which is 1:30 East Coast and 10:30 West Coast, I do Friday Night Insomniac. We do it all started, my grandma passed, and I was having a really rough go, and I was in the house by myself, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to sit here in my own thoughts. And I thought, I'll just go live and chat with my friends, and people start coming on. And on Fridays, anybody can join on the panel. It's a fun show, and anybody's invited to come in and talk, because obviously we're on there because we can't sleep, so might as well hang out and have a good time. So, and then usually on Saturdays I join Oz and them on the Clubhouse over on Ostradamus Toys channel, and I have an Instagram, I have a TikTok, and I have a X, YouTube, and so I'm all over the place, and it's all going to be Kenzo's _creation or just Kenzo's creations. So, and if, like I said before, any questions or anything you might have on customizing, painting, printing, anything like that, I'm an open book. I absolutely would be happy to help anybody further their knowledge on customs. So I appreciate you having me on Tase T. It was a fun show. It was long overdue. Like I said, we chat all the time. We're in each other's shows and stuff like that, but it's nice to sit down and just shoot the stuff.
Yep. The one-on-one concept, which I wanted originally, and but you are part of the show. You have been, so it's just expanding on the idea of, interviews on here. So if it's 2 people, we have a little playlist. If it's more than 2 people, I could do like I did at the beginning, just create a show that's pre-recorded, put on a Sunday night if someone can't come on Sunday night. So it's the availability, but we must keep focus on at least one topic to talk about, and then expands from there. Not just go all willy-nilly, because everyone has their own show. They can talk about anything they want, but you go on someone else's show, they want to know specifically, and then lead back to their own show.
Where we end up, we don't know, but we know where we'll start. We'll start somewhere and we end somewhere totally different, but you know what? That's the whole fun of it,
And as Ghost sang in Guiding Lights, the road that leads to nowhere is long. Thank you, Tobias Forge. Yep. And so thank you all for watching us chat and converse on this first episode on the new playlist on Spill the Geek Tea, Tasty Conversations with Tasty Cake.
That didn't work.
I'm your host, Tasty Cake, aka the Reverend Amagon. This is Kenzo's Creations, co-host and brother to all. And so without going any other details, because I didn't plan this, good night and good work.
Attaboy. Woo!
Did it do it?
I don't know. There we go. How about this? We need fireworks.
That's it.
Rockstar. And
good night, everybody.
Yo, spilt the tea drama? Not anymore. Remember to mop up and switch the kettle off. Here's how to switch it off like a pro. Unplug it from the socket. It's the safest way to ensure it's off. Don't forget to like, share with everyone, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and happy brewing.